So I'm going to make a cookie called Molasses Crinkles. They're basically a soft ginger snap. And I'm starting with, this is a doubled recipe, so if you want, and it'll make about 6 dozen, so if you want a smaller batch, have the recipe. Or send me a message and I can have it for you. I've got 1.5 cups of shortening, 1 cup of white sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, and I'm going to cream that together. And once that's all mixed together, we'll add 2 eggs. So you'll see it's kind of a smooth dough at the moment. And you don't have to beat it a lot, just get it enough so it's mixed together. But scrape the sides down, and I'll add, get my beater out of the way. I'll add 2 eggs. Farm fresh, preferably. And I'm going to mix them in one at a time just because they mix easier that way. Now you want to blend this well. We're going to turn it, once it's incorporated, I'll turn the speed up and we'll beat it till it's nice and fluffy. So this is the consistency you want. And we'll scrape down the sides, and I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of molasses, whatever kind you like. And just as an FYI, if you spray your measuring cup with a little bit of non-stick spray, it comes out pretty slick without leaving all the residue behind. That's pretty clean for a cup of molasses. 1/2 cup, excuse me. So you just want to mix that in well, and then we're going to start adding our spices. We're going to add 4 teaspoons of baking soda. And yes, that's correct, 4 teaspoons. Sounds like a lot, I know, but it works in this recipe. 2, 3, 4. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And yeah, they're slightly rounded, but they'll work.
Cinnamon ain't bad for you.
We like cinnamon. And we're going to do about 2.5 of ginger. You want that ginger flavor. And we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Cloves are very strong, so add what you like. And how much nutmeg here? Oh, it doesn't need nutmeg. We'll add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, and you just mix that in slowly so it doesn't go everywhere. We're going to add 4.5 cups of flour. I've got 2.5 cups in there, and we've started on low, and hopefully it won't fly everywhere, and then we'll add the rest. And we'll add the other 2 cups for the total of 4.5. And you want to be able to grab the dough and shape it into a ball. If it's too gooey, add flour about a tablespoon at a time until you get this consistency. Really depends on the humidity level, how much flour you have, but you should be able to shape it by hand without coming away with all that goo on your hands. So we'll get this out of here. I'm going to roll it into balls about that size. We're going to roll it in cinnamon sugar, and then we'll get them on the baking sheet. So I like to use my tablespoon scoop. It just keeps them semi even in size. Just roll it in a ball, roll it in the cinnamon sugar. The original recipe calls for just rolling them in granulated sugar, but I like to use the cinnamon sugar and add another little level of flavor.
Yes.
You want to give these room. They will spread out a little bit. And we're going to bake them for 10 to 12 minutes. We'll start with 10. I like my cookies soft and chewy, so if you want yours a little firmer and more crisp, you can bake them a little bit longer. So they'll go in the oven at 350 and we'll check them in 10. So they weren't quite done at 10, so I did them another minute for a total of 11. They don't flatten a lot, so you can flatten them a little bit, but they want to be still just a little soft but slightly firm to the touch. And as they sit, you'll see they'll start to crack, hence the molasses crinkles. I'll let them cool on the cookie sheet for 1 to 2 minutes at the most, and then we'll take them off and get them on the cooling rack to finish cooling. So the cookies aren't flattened out as much as they normally do. So what I'm going to do with this tray is I'm going to flatten them a little bit before they go in the oven. Not flat, but down just a little bit out of the ball shape, and we'll see what they do. Well, that's a little better. It's a little more what they should look like. Right here. And they're already starting to crack more. Normally they really crack pretty deeply. And these will get a little more like it. As they sit, they just came out of the oven. So after they sit a couple minutes, they'll crack a little more. But they're a little thinner than what the other ones were. And this is what they should look like pretty much. Very tasty no matter what they look like.
Go. It's the last of it. Just over 5 dozen.
Tasty little morsels.
Oh, yeah.